Hi, are we on?
Yeah.
Oh, hi.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Welcome to week 4.
Welcome to week 4. For those of you who have watched us before, thank you for coming back. And for those of you who are new, I am Bella.
I'm Jane.
And we are 2 everyday friends. No experts, no scientists, no anything other than friends, just having a conversation about some of the stuff that's going on the planet right now that is very polarizing and that people don't typically like to talk about.
And because we are innately curious and open-minded, the last 3-4 months for us have been very expansive, is a word, I suppose, and liberating in a way. It's sort of gotten rid of that there's got to be something more thing. Okay, now we're living there's something more. We're living in that. We're living in the end game of an old empire. We're watching the breakdown and the dismantling of an old system that's been in play upon this planet for thousands and thousands of years. So it's very exciting times. And we want to talk about it. We talk about it all the time. So
we thought we would start making these videos just if anyone else wanted to follow along and the kind of everyday stuff that we talk about. And I'm going to give you a trigger warning. We are going to talk about a very polarizing topic today. We know it's polarizing because we have experienced it in our community, amongst our friends, with our loved ones. So if you are the person who is very anti-Donald Trump, and you think he's a racist, a bigot, a rapist, or whatever it is that's going around the mainstream media, if you believe all of that you see and you are completely anti-Donald Trump, I invite you to either A, watch this video with an open mind and be willing to say, that's interesting, that's a bit curious, I wonder why they think that, or B, probably turn this video off right now because we are pro-Trump and we are going to be talking about the reasons for why we are pro-Trump and why, as Australians, it actually affects us, whether you are aware of it or not.
Yeah, we're truly in a global situation at the moment where we're all in this. What happens in America has an effect on the rest of the planet at the moment because of this new world order. The main powers that be. We have so we've got the Vatican, we've got the London, and we've got Washington. But as it's sort of come down now, it's like all the power plays are happening around Washington, and Donald Trump just happens to be the most powerful man on the planet at the moment, whether you like it or not. And we like it. We like it a lot because we know that behind the scenes there is a shit ton of things going down, and he's known about these things for a long time. He's known about this deep state, the cabal. He's known about these child sex trafficking rings. He's known about all of this for a very long time and has been in the process of breaking it down. I learned something yesterday that Donald Trump was the only person who helped the prosecution go for and convict Jeffrey Epstein. So Donald Trump was the only person that helped the prosecution. I learned that from Liz Crokin. She's an ex-mainstream media reporter in America. If you want to listen to the whole of that interview, that talk, it's 30 minutes. Go to Liz Crokin on Facebook or wherever you find it.
We'll put the link below the video.
Yep. So she's delved into this. She's been at this for a long time because it's her specialty to investigative journalism. So
I'm going to go as far to say that, Donald Trump was a very wealthy man in his own right. A very, very wealthy man. He could absolutely be enjoying his retirement with his billions of dollars on the Bahamas, sipping pina coladas all day long. But instead he chose to run for president. And I don't think that he chose to run for president so that he could become more powerful. He already had everything. He chose to run for president so that he could drain the swamp. And we're going to go into that today. And what does drain the swamp actually mean?
Well, drain the swamp means get rid of the pedophiles, get rid of the deep state, get rid of those who would control us, and have a new world order. But he came into with the agenda of getting rid of this child sex trafficking. That was his number one agenda when he came into power. Yeah.
And if you think child sex trafficking is not happening on the planet, then I invite you to do a little bit of research and dig a little bit deeper, because it is a giant elephant in the room and nobody's talking about it. Well, people are starting to talk about it now, but for the last all the years that we've been alive, it certainly hasn't been mainstream information.
It's the most lucrative trade on the planet. I think we mentioned that last week. It's the most lucrative trade on the planet at this time, okay? So that's above pharmaceutical. That's above all the oil. That's above everything else. Child sex trafficking.
And what I find really interesting about Donald Trump is that I don't think the other side of the politicians, like Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton and all the prior politicians beforehand, and a vast majority of the American public, saw it coming. They did not see him winning the election. I was actually in America at the time of the last election, and I remember surfing in California, and I was talking to this girl in the water, and she was like, it's going to be so amazing when Hillary wins today. And I was like, you think Hillary's going to win? And she's like, oh my God, absolutely. And I was like, I think Donald's going to win. And she was like, oh! She was so aghast that I actually even said the words, I think Donald's going to win. She was like, how can you say that? And at the time, I even questioned my own self, because I thought, here's a person that the whole mainstream media is putting down. They're saying all these terrible things. Why do I want him to win? I think there was a part, I didn't know then what I knew now, but I did know that there was a part of my soul that recognized that he was a good man and that he was here to really shake up, the system. And Jane and I had a talk about it at the time. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we were like, we think he's really going to ruffle some feathers and really shake up what's happening on the planet.
We just didn't have any idea at that time, of course, how much shaking up there was going to be, and the amount of attack that. Now, apparently, the Democrats They were happy with Donald Trump originally. They sort of put him up as a puppet to sort of, because they thought there's no way known this guy is going to win, because they just assumed Hillary was going to win, and more fool them, right? But a lot of people, and a lot of women especially, I remember at the time, were saying, oh, we really want Hillary to win. And I'm sort of like, well, why? What's she good for? All that sort of stuff. Well, she's a woman. And I thought, well, I'm a woman. And I thought, just because you've got a vagina, it doesn't mean you're above a man, or just because you're a female. It's like, that's not a good enough reason. Now we know behind, what's been going on with the Clinton Foundation, and now Hillary Clinton is locked away. She's facing trial in September for those 36,000 emails.
I mean, do our viewers know what's happening with the Clinton Hillary Foundation? Why don't you enlighten them on what we've learned? On what we've learned. And, we advise you to do your own research if you don't know any of this information or you haven't heard it before.
Well, you're going to hear about it soon enough, because with Ghislaine Maxwell just being arrested now, and she's Jeffrey Epstein's partner. So she's the daughter of Robert Maxwell, who was a big media baron and criminal in England, in Britain, for a long, long time. Anyway, long story. But the Clinton Foundation, the Clintons, Bill and Hillary, they've been friends with Epstein and Ghislaine for a long time. They used to, I think it's been on the flight logs that went over to Pedo Island, which was Epstein's island. I think Bill was listed on those flight logs over 20 times, and Hillary was on those flight logs as well, six or seven times. They've got a lot of history with child sex trafficking through Haiti, and a lot coming in through Mexico. But it's dirty, dirty, dirty. And the Clinton Foundation gave a lot of money to set up a lot of Save the Children charities, and all these sort of Save the Children organisations that basically they're all fronts for child
These
sex
charities that we have been giving money to save the children, protect the children, they are fronts for child sex trafficking rings. Let that sink in for a moment. They are fronts for child sex trafficking rings. Doesn't it just horror you to the core that places that are pretending to protect and support children are actually trafficking them?
And this is happening in Australia too. This is happening all around the world, actually.
It's happening within our own government.
Let's not go there.
And we want to bring on Karen Brewer. We're going to say it because she seems to be the queen of talking about this at the moment. So Karen, if you get a gist of this video, we're going to give you a shout.
If you don't know who Karen Brewer is and you're Australian, then you need to open your eyes a little bit. Karen Brewer, okay? She is in the process of taking a cause to the Governor General of Australia to raise the suppression orders that were placed on through the Woods Royal Commission in 1986, I think. Senator Bill Heffernan got up in the Senate in 2015 and said, these papers have come across my desk. They're police documents. There's 29 names on this document. They're all politicians, top-ranking judges in Australia. They're all sex offenders.
Sick pedos.
Sick.
At the top of our judicial system, sick pedos, and they suppressed it. They suppressed it so that we couldn't have access to that information.
They're still sitting on high courts. They're still running police departments.
And our government voted to suppress that information. Let that sink in.
Look up Karen Brewer, get on board, sign those documents and get them out there.
She's a legend. Karen, if you're watching this, we love you. We love your work.
Yep. Back to Trump. People have accused Donald Trump of rape. There was a particularly one 13-year-old girl, which is probably the most, the most hideous one that came along. Can't think of her name. 13 years old. She came out in 2016. Funny that. They all came out in 2016, just before the election. And all these women accused Donald Trump of raping them. Now, this girl, at the time, I don't know how many years before it was, but she was 13 at the time, she claimed. At the time, she made a statement. She said, I can't remember who it was. But in 2016, she said, I remember now, it was Donald Trump. Anyway, they took this case to court. It got thrown out of one court, so they took it to another. It got thrown out of that court. There was no evidence for this. There was another, I don't know the number, 16 women or something who filed charges against Donald Trump that he raped them. These have all been thrown out of court. There was no proof. Now, it's been found, and again, go to the Liz Crokin interview, that all of these women were either working for or friends with Hillary Clinton, okay? Hillary and her gang paid all of these women to go and try and, undermine Trump's run to power. What's happened in America since Donald Trump has been in power? The guy's a legend. He's draining the swamp. He's putting the walls up. The wall on the Mexican border is to keep the drug traffickers out, to keep the child sex trafficking out.
I mean, and if you do your homework, since all the borders have been closed and since there hasn't been all this international travel, there has been more and more children gone missing from the American nation than ever before. Because they can't bring in the Mexicans and they can't bring on, although there's not all this underground, trafficking that was happening before. And it's just, the child sex trafficking, it just breaks my heart. If this isn't a subject that breaks your heart, then I don't know what would be a subject that would break your heart.
I don't know either. I mean, for God's sake, go and watch Out of Shadows if you haven't seen it. And that's just dealing with what was going on in Hollywood. I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg. This goes way up to the top. It's disgusting. I love that word. Have you noticed?
Disgusting.
Disgusting.
I'm going to go as far to say that, as our consciousness evolves and as we step into fifth dimensional consciousness, another word or another term that we use for that, or that's being used for that, it's kind of a buzzword, is Christ consciousness. And where that comes from is Jesus, our Lord Savior Jesus Christ. And, I'm not sure if you're biblical or religious, but Jesus was a man that, had a very high consciousness. He tried to make the world a better place and do all this wonderful stuff. But as one man, he was not able to elevate the consciousness of humanity. So now all the beings on the planet are evolving into fifth dimensional consciousness. So they're calling it Christ consciousness. I'm going to go as far as to say that Donald Trump is absolutely working for the light. He's a light worker, and he is working through or being channeled with Christ consciousness. And everything that he is doing is being channeled from the divine for our planet.
Whoa.
Does that just make you feel juicy?
Oh, man. I was raised in Melbourne. I went to a Catholic school. I went to a convent school in Hawthorn, all girls college. We had it basically whipped into us that if you don't do good, you'll end up burning in the fires of hell. We had to go and confess once a week. There was church services, all this, constantly. Nuns. I got taught by nuns. I was always in trouble because my socks were too short, my tie was undone, I had the wrong shoes, I had writing all over my uniform. I was everything that I could do to piss them off, I did. And that's just who I am. I didn't like it. I didn't like the Catholic Church doctrine being forced down my throat. But now I've come to learn that the Catholic Church and Christ consciousness are two very, very different things. So, I'm not religious, but I am spiritual.
Christ consciousness is not religious.
It's not about the church.
Christ consciousness is the elevation of consciousness for all. And they just use the term Christ consciousness. And I mean, for the longest time, I didn't even believe Jesus Christ was real. I certainly wasn't raised, in any kind of religion whatsoever. And, when my own evolutionary process started, I used to listen to a man, and still do, who I absolutely love, Matt Kahn. If you haven't heard of him, check him out. He's an absolute legend. And, in his sort of podcasts and broadways, he talked about blessing people. So to raise and elevate the consciousness of your own life and humanity is to bless people with that which you want in your life. So I would go around like, may you be blessed with love, may you be blessed with joy, may you be blessed with an abundance of waves.
What I've learned is that to bring it down to a really simple everyday level for everybody, be kind. Be kind. That is the highest form for me of spirituality. Be kind. Learn to love and appreciate. Appreciation is pretty much the highest vibration. Love and appreciation are the two highest vibrating feelings, emotions that we have as a humanity. When we're kind, we're in cohorts with spirit, with Christ consciousness, whatever you want to call it.
And you know what? If you have a day where you're not being kind, because it does happen.
It is.
You own it, and you be unkind with passion. I mean it. Because when you allow yourself to be and act however you're feeling in any given moment, when you allow yourself to be in that moment and not think being unkind is bad, more often than not, of course, you're going to choose kindness. You're absolutely going to choose kindness every day of the week. But every now and then, if you're not kind, be unkind with passion.
Yeah, and getting back to Trump, on July the 4th, when they did the American, what's it called?
4th of July.
4th of July stuff.
Thing.
And Melania Trump got up and she had that white dress on with all the drawings all over it. And the media bagged her out and they said, oh, it looks like Donald got a pen and he drew all over it. Well, you know what? That dress was, because she's pretty much, she's all about the kids, Melania. She's all about the kids. These were the little children who had been rescued from these hellhole sex trafficking. They'd drawn pictures. So it was like, draw pictures of, express your feelings. So all these little kids drew pictures. They got Alexander McQueen's, he's passed, but his company, all the designers sat down and they put all this, and they created this dress for Melania to wear. You watch what she wears. She wears some pretty coded stuff. And all the media could do was say, oh, it looks like a mess, like Donald's drawn all over it.
But not one of the media actually took the time to find out that that dress was produced in the product of child sex trafficking victims, sexual abuse victims. Yeah. So that's what we're talking about being kind, because you never really know what's, beyond the veil of what a person is presenting.
Yeah, and, again, Donald Trump came into power with the agenda to stop this. Okay, if he's done nothing else, he has stopped so much of this. There's a lot of tunnels, huge tunnel systems under the ground, particularly between North America and Canada. There's massive tunnels where a lot of kids were moved around, and that's all been shut down now.
Mm. Yeah. And so we are going to predict, I'm going to make a prediction, that not only will Donald Trump win the next election, he will absolutely win it in a landslide, in the highest, biggest win.
What, Bella, you mean he's going to beat Joe Biden?
Yes.
Or Kanye. We might make a last-minute bid for the Democrats.
What do you think, what do you think about Kanye going for president? What do you think about that?
I think it's ridiculous. What do you think of Joe Biden? I mean, come on, stop it now. Hillary's not making a comeback. If she's, or whatever. No, there's no. Who else?
I think Donald Trump's going to win in a landslide. That's my prediction. It's going to be the biggest win that the country has ever seen.
I think so too. How can it not? How can he not?
Wow.
If he doesn't, guess what? We're screwed. We're absolutely screwed.
If he doesn't, put your arm out for the RFID chip and ultimate control right now.
Yeah, put it out. We're buggered, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, and that chip does not come with chicken salt.
It does not. It does not.
And what else has been going on this week?
What else has been going on?
Anything juicy? What have you been hearing about this week? Anything juicy we haven't talked about that you'd love to hear us talk about?
Well, I mean, the big thing, I guess, is Ghislaine Maxwell being arrested. That's the big thing that's happening.
And hitting mainstream media.
Mainstream media, yeah, they're talking about it now. The lockdown in Melbourne, in the big lockdowns in Melbourne. Wow, what's going on there.
And if you are watching this and you are our brothers and sisters in Melbourne, our hearts are there for you. We do not consent to your lockdown, and we really feel for you, and we really bless you with love and support, and hope that you are getting everything you need in this time. And this is a call out for our brothers and sisters to stand up together and to unite. We do not consent to this kind of totalitarian behaviour. We do not consent.
It's socialism, they're preparing us for a socialist future, or fascist, or whatever you want to call it, I don't know. But yeah, it's not the future. That's not the future. That's some freak's idea of it. It's not our future.
It's not our future. It's the reason we highlight this stuff is because this is what we believe has to crumble. This is what we believe is crumbling in the third dimensional paradigm, to create space for this brand new fifth dimensional paradigm that we are birthing and that we are all ascending and evolving into, which is going to be so juicy and delicious and oh my God, think living in a reality where everyone lives in a place that just, brings their heart and soul joy. We have fresh food and abundant water, and we have free time to spend with our families, and we live in a reality where there's free electricity?
Free power.
Free power, because the technology is on the planet, but it's all being suppressed.
Nikola Tesla, okay? Nikola Tesla, the technology's already out there.
And all the technology that's currently on the planet being used for bad will be turned around and used for good. And the inventions that are going to come out to clean up the planet, clean up the plastic, clean up our rubbish, clean up the impact that we've been making on the planet. The technology, the good technology, is going to help us do that.
We went for a surf this morning, and I was looking up. The sky was so blue today. I just noticed it was like a ultra blue. It was so beautiful. I think, once we start allowing the planet to heal, because we stop destroying it with all this petrochemical plastic crap, you know, stop spraying our food with all of this aluminium and stuff. This planet will heal so
at
quickly.
An absolutely rapid rate.
So quickly. It's going to get greener, it's going to get bluer, it's going to get more crystal water. And it won't take long. The planet knows very well how to take care of itself.
I mean, you saw with the COVID lockdown over the skies of China and other places, it was like clearer than it had ever been in, 100 years because of the less cars on the road and the less people moving about and the less sound and noise and all of those things.
It's a beautiful thing. Trump's one man, and as we've said before, he's not a perfect man.
And he has a whole team behind him who think like him and move like him and breathe like him and have your best interests and the best interests of humanity. And he's not alone. We're here, and there's millions of people around the world, little pockets of people who are doing their part to elevate the consciousness of humanity.
If we had white hats, we'd put them on.
So I'm going to say to you, if you are of the darkness, if you do not have the best interests for humanity at the forefront of your mission on this earth, the light is coming for you.
What does that mean?
It means the light is going to every corner of darkness on this planet. The light is going to fill every corner of darkness. So if you are not of the light and you do not wish for the light, then put your pajama pants on and jump into bed, because seriously,
Then pull the covers up because you ain't.
pull the covers up because the light is coming for you.
Right.
And of course, there needs to be polarity of light and dark. There's always going to be light and dark, but at the moment, it's dark and light, right? So we want to, bring it back into, an ebb and flow of course, more light and love.
Yeah, and we started with Trump. We'll finish with Trump, but he's got a huge team of people working with him. He's not doing this on his own. He just happens to be the man at the top here, and the lead singer of the greatest rock and roll band that I've ever seen. And I like the song that he sings. I like it. And
I don't particularly like rock and roll, but I do like this band.
oh yeah, bring it on, I say.
Well, we're not in the 80s,
But the music was good, right, in the 80s? Come on, They're still swinging to it. It's called swinging. I'm back in the 40s now. What's happening? Time warp. Yeah, but lots of things are changing and coming, and once this all sort of plays out and there's a redistribution of the world's wealth, and we're all going to be, we won't have to worry about anything. It'll all be okay. I think I heard somewhere too, they've taken back the gold that they've been stashing away in the Vatican and in the royal family in England. They've got trillions and it's like the next thing up from trillions. It's like
quadrillions,
gazillions or so. Anyway, there's shit tons of money, shit tons of gold that apparently it's been taken out. They needed something like 28 planes to bring all this gold back. So I don't know. It's all going to be spread out. If you haven't heard of Nasara or Jasara, go and have a look at that. Gesara.
Well, actually, I just had the download. We're going to talk about that next week. We're going to go into Jasara and Nasara and the fall and collapse of the current banking system as we know it, and what is being birthed in the new Earth paradigm with banking. So if you like what you heard today, tune in next Wednesday, and we'll see you then.
A Trump 2020. We love you. Thanks for joining.
Thank
See ya.
you.